Hey guys, welcome back to Indirect Knowledge. So tonight we have another tarot card reading to do, and this one is for Christina. She wants to know when her guy is planning to see her. So we will find out. So right now I'm just shuffling the cards. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. So as monks, we get up kind of early sometimes to do prayers and what have you, and we have other responsibilities and duties. And so sort of my day today to take care of some things. So before I get on with the day, though, I figured I would do this tarot card reading. I'm feeling especially psychic tonight. This morning, I should say. So it's a good time for me to do this. So for those of you that haven't really been tuned into the channel, let me just give you a little quick insight. So my name's Chandra. I'm a monk, and when I was a small child, I had a very unfortunate psychic experience. It is the worst psychic experience I ever had. I was a small child, probably around 7 or 8, 9 years old. I mean, I could clearly remember it, so it must have been around 9. But I had this premonition that my neighbors down the street were going to pass away in a car accident and burn to death, and it was going to be a horrible accident. It's going to be on the news and everything else. And I woke from this premonition, and I mean, I was just very dismayed, very startled. And so I went to my mother and I told her, I told my brother, and other family members found out, and everyone was trying to reassure me that, look, it was just a bad dream. You know, it's when your brain scrambles information, this kind of thing. And I mean, there was a very logical reason presented to me as to why, you know, I should just sort of more or less dismiss it. Well, a couple of weeks later, that exact event happened. It made the TV. It was really, really unfortunate. What happened was a guy, a senior citizen, he had stroked out while he was driving his car. They were on a bridge, and he came across and he knocked them off into a ravine. The car rolled and stuff. They got pinned in the car. The car exploded, and it thing just like I recalled it from my nightmare. So since that moment, then there were some other little things that started happening. I started getting more insights, visions, things on that end. And then eventually, you know, I sent me to like an ESP school. And back in those days, it was, you heard a lot about ESP, but nowadays, you know, a lot of people don't even know what it is. But basically, it's to improve like your psychic. The school was basically designed to improve like your psychic skills, that type of thing, and to, you know, monitor you, test you, that type of thing. Well, over the years, this gift, I guess I'll call it, increased, and I consider it a God-given gift because most things are. Everything's really from God. And it's all about how you use the resources that you have. So this is a gift that I like to give back to humanity. And so I do tarot card readings. And so a lot of people find it interesting, you know, oh, this monk, he's into this. But, you know, it's what it is. I mean, I give back, you know, what I'm given. And that's essentially an offering to God. And so, you know, give back to God what's God's. So in this way, I can help people and help humanity in this way. Of course, there's other services that we do. We like to help other people and stuff in a lot of different ways. We take a vow of poverty. And me personally, I do a lot of the cooking. And we feed a lot of hungry people. And we do a lot of good things. But this channel is really, the sole focus of this channel is really to help people out who have questions they need answers to. Maybe they've tried traditional therapy, or they've tried other means, and they just want to get a different perspective on things. So I do what I can to try to help. Not always do I feel 100% on par with things. Like I don't feel 100% convicted in a reading. So I'm pretty honest when that happens. But most of the time when I am, kind of in this here, it's almost like a trance-like state that happens. What comes to me is, I'm very convicted about it. I know it's going to happen more than, like 90% of the time. And so I'm not going to say bank on it or anything, but I just say this to kind of give you reassurance, or at least, tell you kind of from my vantage point, kind of the way things go. So anyway, thanks for tuning in if you're tuning in. So the reading that we have, again, is for Christina. She wants to know when her guy is planning to see her. And so I've shuffled the cards. I'm going to cut them one last time. My intention out there, and then let's see what unfolds. So the first card that we have is the Fool. So in the beginning, this is the past card. So this represents pretty much the past of the relationship. It's about naivety, kind of, starting our journey, starting our relationship, that type of thing. In the present moment, we have the Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is really about, you see the proverbial hand there holding the pentacle. Pentacles are about, they're really about material, things outside ourselves, material wealth, accumulating things. It's the attraction to things. Pentacles represent, sure-footedness, groundedness, that type of thing, getting your affairs in order. The Ace of Pentacles is about new beginnings, fresh energy. It's about inspiration. But like I say, the Pentacles represent like the material world. Now, from a spiritual perspective, you see this here. I don't want to say warring sides, but there's definitely like a kind of like a polarity to it. On one side, you have, spirituality, which is oftentimes in spiritual circles, it's about eschewing the material, the things that distract us or cause us to be attached. So those attachments and things. So you hear a lot of times people saying, well, I don't want to have these attachments, or I don't want to, engage in these kind of activities and that type of thing. And so they become like ascetics or monks or that kind of thing. And so they move in that type of a direction. On the other hand, you have people that are very materialistic, and they, they thrive in the security of having things. And it could just be money, a big bank account, a huge retirement savings, a beautiful house, a home, a nice car, all of these types of things. But this is about this Ace of Pentacles. This is a current situation right now. It's really about this new energy, this new fresh energy and stuff that's going on. So with this guy and everything, it could be, hey, fucking gaming. It's good to see you. See you again. Welcome. I know it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here in Michigan. So goodness knows what time it is where you're at. But thanks for tuning in. It's good to have someone in the room. So let's look now at the future for Christina. Okay, so we have the 5, and this is the 5 of Cups. Okay, I'll just let you see this card. I don't know if you guys can see it too well or not. Barely 10 p.m. over there. Okay, great. So we have the 5 right here. So the 5 of Cups asks us to really, just stop crying, look in another direction for happiness, basically to get over hurt, pick up, the remaining relationships, the remaining things in our life, and basically carry on. It is a card of emotional disappointment oftentimes. But the message of this card being a 5, it's about change. It's really about moving on. And also the emotional discharge that happens when this card comes up. It's like what we're feeling, whether it be anger or depression or anything like that. these are really exaggerated emotions. So you'll be in a state of exaggerated. So if it's anger, you're feeling a lot of anger. If it's depression, you're feeling overly depressed to the extent that, ordinarily you might not. So it's sort of about this getting on with things. So the next card is the present moment card. And this is the card where, actually, this is really the answer card. So this will later on tell us a lot of information, give us some insight into what the outcome is later on. But the answer is the Two of Swords. So if you can see the Two of Swords, you see this lady here. She's blindfolded. There's two swords. She's crossed two swords across her chest. You see the moon in the background. That's pretty insightful. The moon is about the mysterious. It's about things that are hidden, things that are not illuminated or brought to light. It's sort of about secrecy, and it's also very about intuition and about indirect knowledge and things. It's also, like you see the water back there, that's really about the unconscious. So it's unconsciousness and not really being aware of things. And so we see that really in this card reflected with the symbology, with the lady being blindfolded. You see it with the swords, and the two, of course. Two is usually about some kind of relationship or something along those lines. Swords are about mental, so things that are in our mind. As far as what the outcome prevails and shows us later on, this Two of Swords is where you're really faced with the decision of, taking action or not taking action. And to not take action, of course, is also a form of action. So regardless, life's decisions can be difficult and they can have painful consequences. But again, not deciding, of course, is a decision in and of itself. So this card is really about taking time for yourself to choose really the best course of action for you, or the best choice for yourself. And that's what this card really tries to get across. It's trying to say, look, you're going to have to make a choice here, but make the choice that's best for you. Don't worry about making a choice that's best for everybody else. This card is really about you and making that choice that's right for you. We'll get to this in a minute, but the answer surrounding that Ace of Pentacles, I want to talk about that for just a minute, because we have the Nine of Cups that's just coming up. And the Nine of Cups, this is a wish card. You notice this person looks pretty content, pretty happy. And they should, they've pretty much achieved everything they need to achieve. Whatever they want, they have access to, they can get. So this is it's a relationship. So it's like basically relational goals are met. Then basically this person's pretty satisfied. They've got pretty much everything they want in their life. And because this is a 9 also symbolizes the moon in numerology. And it's also about endings and completions. But the thing about it is it is the wish card. So this card is really, when this card comes up, it's about generosity, having a generous spirit, feeling complete, sharing resources and things with others, and just sharing in a good time, trying to get everybody on the same page, get them all feeling good. So that kind of thing. So that's the energy surrounding that Ace of Pentacles. So things right now is like whatever you want, you pretty much, Christina, have access to. You can kind of push things in your favor just because of the cards that are coming up here. Now let's look at really what you want, what your attitude about things are, where you're at with this relationship with this guy and everything. And so we have the Five of Pentacles that come up. It's an interesting card to come up in this spread because, we had the other five, and that was the Five of Cups. And if you remember, that cup was five is sort of the midway point in numerology, but it's also really, it's where change starts to happen. So if you think about a mountain, you've been going up the mountain the whole time. Now by the time you get to the top of the mountain, that's midway. It's time to start going down the mountain. And of course, that's a completely different, experience than what it was going up. So that's where the change starts to happen, and we see that. So this card here, this Five of Pentacles, you see these two people, they're kind of out in the cold, out on their own. And the Five of Pentacles is really about misfortune, losing what you have, kind of losing your faith in your ability to recreate a positive financial situation for yourself. And then, of course, this card is the reminder to us that, even though you lose everything, and, even though you might find yourself out in the cold every now and then, the key thing to remember with this card, the thing that is the most important beyond the material possessions, beyond, the relationships, beyond, everything going on in your life, all the things that you lost, you do have something that's very invaluable, and that is the knowledge that got you on top of the mountain in the first place. So it's sort of that inner wisdom that you've gleaned already. You can use that knowledge, to bounce back, to get back up on your feet, and to, maybe even get to a better place, climb a different mountain, a higher mountain. And you can rebuild and then, create wealth for yourself again and again and again, just because you have the experience and the knowledge and the know-how to be able to make that happen. It's sort of like someone that starts a business that's successful. Once you have a successful business and you've kind of learned the ropes and found out what made you successful, if something should happen, maybe you get sued, maybe you lose the business, you fall on hard times, whatever the case happens to be, after a period of time, you might start to think to yourself, I can do this again. I can start another business. I can bounce back. I mean, I know what I'm doing, and now I can avoid a lot of the mistakes and the pitfalls that I made in the first place when I started the original business. So I should have an easier go of it anyway. That's what that card's really all about. It's about helping us to kind of figure out that, we have this, skills, these abilities and things inside of us that allow us to rebuild and to create wealth for ourselves all over again if we need to. And then also be able to help other people do the same. So it's really an empowering card, and you can find a lot of things. Sometimes we just, need a new fresh start. And this card sometimes is a force that forces us into that direction, or at least gets us kind of moving in that direction. And then finally, we have our outcome card. Let's look at what that is. Okay, so we have the Hermit. So the Hermit is, this is a figure, an archetype, if you will, that finds himself by himself. He's out there. He's a hermit. So, he's contemplating things. He's really in his head a lot. He's doing his own thing. He's going his own path. He's taking care of himself. He's kind of pretty much in that thing. So when this card comes up, and this is your outcome card, it's really about retreating and really taking time for yourself. It's about rest and renewal. It's about introspection. It's about contemplation. For many people, this is a time of spiritual development, and to really reconnect with a person's life path, or what in Sanskrit is known as dharma. So it's sort of like a law or religion, or that type of thing, like our destiny, the reason that we're here, to kind of get in tune with our true nature, our true self. But now that we have these cards read, we can kind of start to sort through them and analyze them and see the big picture here. So we've seen we've looked at things at kind of the micro level here so far. Now we can start to see kind of the bigger picture, kind of a meta perspective of things. So we have the Hermit here. And then the answer to the Hermit, to getting to this place of being able to take time for ourselves, to be able to retreat, to have this time of introspection, these kind of things, it's this Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords is this decision that we have to make, what's it going to be? And it seems like the answer to this time of introspection and getting by oneself and that kind of thing is really this time that you need in order to make the best choice for yourself, to consider what your options are, to just really, sort through things. Swords, because it's the swords, they are very mental. Hey, Scylla Cresswell. Hey, it's so good to have you back. It's good to see you. Much love. So we have the Hermit, and we have this Two of Swords. And we said that the swords are mental. When we're blind to what's going on in front of us, we're blind to the signs and messages that have been showing up in our life. And in this regard, it's about this guy. When we have this, it's really kind of, we're kind of sometimes putting on blinders, like not really seeing things the way that they really should be seen. And it's it's a natural thing that we do, to put on these blinders, or to try to sort of eschew the inevitable, or eschew the things that are in front of us. But whatever decision you decide you want to make and stuff, you definitely have an energy at this point, like right now in this current present situation and all. You have this Ace of Pentacles, this new energy here, and the energy surrounding it, this current situation that you find yourself in, having this new kind of material position, or where you might find yourself. Basically, any kind of new gains are going to be yours, and the reason for that is because we also have this cup, this Nine of Cups, this wish card. So whatever you're really wishing for right now, it's yours. So that's really your answer, as far as right now in the current moment. But that being said, what I'm seeing, like what's coming to me here, is we have this 5. This is in the near future. I'm trying to get kind of a visual in terms of how far out. It's just maybe over a month, maybe about 5 weeks, somewhere in that ballpark. And then this 5 starts to come about. It's like I said before, it's kind of, we get to that mountaintop. We've been going up, 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 and now it's time to start coming down, 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 down. And as we come down the mountain, it's a completely different journey. The key thing here is to get over the hurt, or any kind of, disappointments that you might experience, any kind of emotions that are exaggerated at this time. It's all right to let that happen if you need to, but just remember that sometimes when we're really hurt, or we're really just kind of like shocked more than anything. Things come into our life, or experiences happen that just really cause us much pain and much grief and that type of thing. It's very easy sometimes to over emotionalize things, or to really exaggerate our emotions, and to make our situation seem a lot worse than it actually is. And the thing is like, in a situation, I'm not picking up a lot of total negativity or anything, but we do have we have this 5 of Pentacles also, and that's really like what you're thinking, like where your mindset is, and kind of the outcome you're seeing. So if that's kind of the energy that, or the kind of the general attitude that you have about things, this ideal of misfortune, maybe losing what you have, kind of losing faith in your ability to make things happen for yourself. What I would encourage you, if you start feeling that way, if it's relevant to you, is to really not forget how you got to where you are in the first place. Not to forget that you have all the skills and these resources that got you up on top of the mountain in the first place. You can always go back up the mountain, just turn around, or you can climb a new mountain and find someone else in your life. So as far as this question that you asked, when is your person planning to see you? I'm not really picking up a strong this is kind of a, an awkward way of presenting this, but it may not even happen. But in this current moment right now, whatever you want is yours. In the near future, in about 5 weeks from now or so, probably not going to be the case. But whatever experiences that you want or you need out of this, it's up to you if that's what you want to pursue. What we're seeing as far as your outcome goes, like with all of this, is the Hermit. And it's really this rest and renewal period. You need a time of just retreating, taking in some lessons, rethinking things, getting some introspection, some contemplation going for yourself. And then just really, like I said before, kind of reconnecting with, your values and what you've got going on. So that's pretty much the reading that I have for you. It's not a bad reading. It really isn't. It's just one that, I see a lot of positive things for you. Like right now, I mean, you're just in that really blessed state. Like things are looking really good for you. As far as, if you want this, a guy to see you, it's yours. I mean, you just have to call it in, and this person will probably come right into your life. Problem is that I don't see this as being like a really long-term thing for you. And if I'm off base, I do apologize, but that's just, that's what the cards are telling me, and that's just sort of what I'm picking up here. So, yes, I feel a little bit off with this reading, and I'll tell you why. Is because like going into this reading, from the way that the question was presented to me, I had this sort of general expectation Sure, Miss Dior, we can do a reading for you here in just a sec. So we're just about done with Christina's. We'll do one for you, sure. So when I first got the question here, my expectation was that maybe this guy is gone or something, or maybe he's I don't know. I was picking up maybe like a truck driver, or he's away on some business, or something along those lines, and that it was just a matter of time before he comes back. But that's not what I got with this reading. So there's sort of a kind of a disconnection there. So maybe before I was reading too much into things, or maybe now I'm reading too much into things. So Christina, whatever the case happens to be, whatever I'm missing here, or I'm not exactly clued in on, if you want to, give me a little more perspective or something like that, I will be very happy to do another reading for you. No worries. But just kind of, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. So, okay, guys, so let's Miss Dior, she has a question. She wants to know what L is up to. So let's find out. Just going to literally randomly take these cards and place them kind of equally throughout the deck. Just kind of randomly put those in there. I do that so that, if I put all 7 cards back in the deck and I shuffle them, and then the next rating I do, if all 7 cards come back up, it's pretty obviously what's going on in that kind of a situation. So that's why I like to really shuffle the cards, and in between readings, I'll do these kind of, wild, I'll split the deck into quarters and thirds, and just really do a lot of different types of shuffles. And then I go back in and shuffle even more. And that's really what I'm doing. So I'm just also focusing on this question. to find out what L is up to see if while I'm shuffling these cards, oftentimes, it's very trance-inducing for me doing this. So when that happens, I start to pick up things. Sometimes I'll just get just some random things will come into my mind, and I just have to kind of trust that intuition. And then I start to see a bigger picture happening, and then the cloudiness as I'm doing the reading usually starts to kind of clear up. The haziness sort of starts to clear up, and I get a bit of a better picture of things so that I can then share. So sometimes when I first start doing a reading, I'm not exactly in tune with everything. It's a little bit fuzzy around the edges. But then as I get going, things start to kind of naturally unfold and help me a little bit. So, hey, Crafting Magic 26, it's good to have you on. So I'm not the only night owl here. I'm just kidding, you guys. I got up early. I had some duty and some responsibilities and stuff that I had to do this morning to get ready for the day. So that's the reason I'm up so early. But I'm in a good place. So we'll do this reading and then probably end the live stream. But we'll just shuffle. We'll cut the cards one more time. Okay, great. All right, so let's find out what L is up to, Miss Dior. So the first card that we have is, what would you know? It's the Fool. You guys heard me shuffling these cards. Like, I really shuffled these cards good. Like, how did this come up again as a very first card? Who knows? So it's the mystery of the tarot. So anyways, this is about naivety and things. It's about a new journey, fresh hope. That's the past. The present moment, we have the Five of Pentacles. Again, this card just comes up. Now, I literally put these in so many different... I put that they were not in any order whatsoever. Now watch, this just comes up. What is going on here? So we have the Five of Pentacles. This is, like I said before in the other reading, it's sort of about like being out in the cold, kind of down on our luck. That's sort of where it's at right now. The main important thing with this is to remember your skills, remember what you got going on, what got you to where you were. And you can always replicate your success, just model the things that you've done in the past and you'll be able to get back up on top of things. Now we have a different card. This is a Seven of Swords. Sometimes people refer to this as sort of the thief in the night. I look at it more as sort of like a card of, going alone. This is treading your own path, stepping away from things. You almost feel a sense of like obligation to like help the people that you're leaving, so maybe you give something back. So what he's doing in this particular case is he's leaving the two swords behind him. Swords are mental things, so leaving thoughts of the place behind him, but also giving back, not taking everything with him, but sharing part of himself with where he's come from and that. But now it's time to move on. It's time to to go it alone. This is often a card of deception, betrayal, broken vows, but almost like thinking that we're undiscovered or that no one's going to find out what our secret is, that kind of thing. But what always happens, something always goes awry, right? And our secret, kind of becomes revealed. And that's what's really going on with this particular card, is that revealing of the things that we're trying to kind of keep private. And that's what happens in the future. And if you'll give me just a moment, I'm starting to pick up some things, but it's coming a little bit later in the reading here. I'll kind of clue you in, Miss Dior, a little bit more as far as what Elle is up to here in a second. So we have Judgment as our answer card in this particular spread. The angel there. And Judgment, this is just where, the answer here is about reconciling the past, making peace with the past, learning lessons from the past, learning what those lessons are and what they have taught us. With this card, we are encouraged to more or less let go of our regrets, our fears, our hurt, basically everything that kind of holds us back from being able to move forward in a positive direction. Those are the things that we're supposed to let go of. And so that's kind of the lesson with Judgment. Because these things, but we have a couple of things like with this reading, like in the near future, and always see this stuff of, broken vows, broken promises, that kind of thing, deception, thinking we're safe and we're really not, or that our secret is hidden and it's not really that secret, like it becomes more revealed. And then we have this judgment card here also, and the judgment card is the answer to the outcome, which we're about to get to. But before we do, let's go back to where this Five of Pentacles is and kind of assess what's going on with that. So we have the Five of Cups. So another 5 card, and this, of course, is, sort of what we had in the other reading as well. We had in this one here, we have the 5 of Pentacles in the current situation. We also have the energy around it as a 5 as well. So this is the 5 of Cups. That is the energy around the 5 of Pentacles. 5 of Pentacles is kind of like being out in the cold, losing some of our financial resources, losing some of our material, things that make us comfortable, that take care of us, that kind of thing, like kind of just losing that kind of ability. Maybe like if you lost a job or something like that happened. This 5 of Cups is more about the relationship side of things. So what happens is when you fall down on your luck often, other things start crashing down around you. And so that 5 right there is part of that. The 5 of Cups here is part of that. Basically, it's asking us, at this point, there's nothing you can really do. You just have to kind of quit crying, kind of look in another direction for happiness, and basically get over hurt, and then just pick up, the remaining relationships, the remaining cups, and be able to move on. And as far as the emotional disappointment that comes along with all of this, like I said in the previous reading, those feelings really do become exaggerated. We have a tendency to exaggerate, like maybe feelings of depression, and we get very depressed, and we really just kind of lose it, and it's just like, whoa, And so but these 5s are all about change. And so we see that right now in the present moment. We see that with the energy surrounding it, with the relationship side of things. So, Ms. Dior, I would say something like in this particular instance that it could be that maybe L might be kind of down on his luck, or finding some of his financial resources or some of the things that he thought were more secure and that kind of thing kind of failing him at this point. And in the process of that, some relationships have maybe gone sour, or they're going to be past relationships, so to say. So we see some of that. And then, of course, this is really where this next card is really where L is at, as far as his mindset on things, like his attitude about his situation, what he's finding himself in right now. This kind of destitute, sort of mind-numbing kind of, being out in the cold, just having to look in another direction to go on, to basically have to move forward. It's like a force of things. It's like I said in the previous reading, you're going up the mountain, and then when you get to the top, everything's great, but then things start going downhill. And as they start to go downhill, it happens pretty quickly. And, it can be very unfortunate or fortunate, depending on the situation, but it's really about change happening. And that change forces us to move into a new direction, to move on past things that we thought were pretty good, or we thought we were pretty fixed, were fixed, concrete type situations. Now they've become more fluid and less than that. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you what he thinks about you here shortly. So now we find ourselves really at trying to find out kind of where his mind is at with this whole situation. Okay, so another 5. It doesn't surprise me one bit. This is a 5 of Wands. So in this current situation, we have the 5 of Pentacles. The energy surrounding that is the 5 of Cups. And right now it's just, this 5 right here is really, not to put it into sexist terms or anything, but it's like every man for himself, or every person for themselves. If you notice this card here, everyone's wearing different attire. and everyone's kind of just fighting everyone. There's no real rhyme or reason. There's no crowd against one person or anything like that. It's just, you know, um, it's sort of a competitive landscape, this card here, but it's action, it's things like that. And, you know, but it does kind of force you to work a little bit harder. You know, it forces L to work a little bit harder, to look at positive situations or situations maybe other people are in that are positive, and then maybe learning from those situations. So you're working harder, you're refining your skills, and that's really what he's up to. And this is kind of like the beginning of some kind of metamorphosis happening. In other words, he's getting to a place of, you know, putting the past behind him, letting go of some of those things in order to be able to move forward. And he's taking action in that direction. And right now he's just busy. You know, he's got a lot going on, and he's busy because he's learning and he's moving in a new direction, and change is happening. And, you know, he's pretty much forced into it. Let's look at the outcome. So the outcome in this particular reading is the Page of Wands. Okay, now the Page of Wands, pages are messengers. They give us messages, and wands are about action and stuff. We saw that in the previous card, the Five of Wands, where everyone is kind of like, you know, trying to fend for themselves, basically, you know, trying to take care of themselves and not really worried or focus on anyone except themselves, you know. In this card and all, this is a, you know, a message about this, a message about the wands, which is really about creative energy, movement, action. This page brings a message of inspiration, or kind of like a new idea, you know, kind of this, brings news that kind of, you know, that's interesting. That gives me an idea, that kind of thing. It gets L excited. So he's getting excited. This is what's to come anyway. In the near future, he's going to get excited. An idea is going to come to him. It's going to be kind of like what's kind of this, moves him back into a really good direction in that, and that kind of thing. Let's find out what he thinks about you. Why not? So that's what L is up to. You know, it's kind of like part of life's journey, I guess. You know, like oftentimes we think things are fixed. We would hope that we can kind of count on our situation. But the reality is, you know, we're always experiencing changes. You know, things are always coming about. You know, when we think that everything is great, something comes and knocks us down. And then, you know, just when we think that we're, you know, in the worst situation, that nothing good can happen, then something positive comes about and shocks the crap out of us. You know, we just get really like this, you know, it's like a, you know, sort of like this moment of hope happens. And this is kind of like this up and down, you know, kind of movement that life, the cycles and things that happen that life kind of throw our way. It's really ultimately for our learning. Oh, excuse me, guys. A little early for me. So yeah, it's really kind of about our learning and different things. But let's find out what L thinks about Miss Dior. So we'll do a 3-card spread on this one, and it will give us insight into, you know, the past part of the relationship, the current situation, what he's feeling right now. And hey, Infinity is 1. It's great to have you back. And we'll also look at kind of what he's going to feel for you in the future and what that situation might look like. So kind of a past, present, future type of reading, but very specific to your question about what he thinks about you. So the past. So what did he think about you in the past? Well, L is This is a very interesting card to come up. This is the Eight of Pentacles. It's a materialistic kind of card, but this is about, you see this person here kind of refining their skills, learning a process, doing certain things in a certain way. It's repetitive. So probably like as far as what he thought about you in the past, or as far as like his consideration as far as the relationship that you guys share and stuff, is it was probably more one of trying to use some of the same skill sets and different things that he's had as far as what he used in relationships, to use those in the same kind of relationship that he would have with you. And then just trying to get better and more refined at how he communicates, how he handles relationships, that kind of thing. And so probably brought about some good reward for him as far as that, some good brownie points, whatever you want to call them. And so that's, probably pretty good. The next card is the present moment. Okay, so this is the Eight of Cups. Okay, you see the moon back there. You see this person. Excuse me, this represents L in this particular spread. It's about rejection of material life, this particular card. But again, it's another 8. We had the Eight of Pentacles in the previous card. We have the Eight of Cups in this card. But disappointment, I think, is really like, if you want to know like kind of what he feels for you, I don't think it's directed towards you per se, but just kind of disappointment maybe with love in general. So a part of him is probably yearning to kind of, kind of eschew like material success and kind of eschew the relationship, or, that whole mentality that's around it. So it's sort of like, maybe you get what you want, but it's not really to the degree that you want it to be. This card is about really leaving the past behind, about seizing the day. And so right now, where L is at, kind of in the current situation, I'm picking up that he's really just kind of, in this zone of leaving the past behind and not really focusing his attention so much on past relationships, probably even like career things as well. I mean, based on the previous card from the past. So he's kind of like, let that go. He's letting relationships go. Let's find out where he's going though. Like there's sort of a great mystery here at this point to find out kind of like, well, where is his mind at? Like what is he feeling for you and that kind of thing, or what will he feel in the future for you? Okay. So we have the Eight of Swords, another 8. So we had the Eight of Pentacles in the past. You had the Eight of Cups in the current situation. That's relationships. And we have the Eight of Swords, which is all about the mental, the mind, in the future. Notice the girl was blindfolded, and she's next to those swords. She could let herself go. She could be free at any time, but, she's trapped by her own thoughts. So the key to this card in the future is L is going to have to let go of his negativity, his critical thinking, any doubts, disbelief. Basically, he needs to conquer his mind. And I've said this in other readings, and I think it's very valid in this reading also. Is for L to really be able to move forward with you, he has to get some control of his mind. And as a quote goes, I always quote here is the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 6. For one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. For one who has failed to do so, the mind will be the greatest enemy. And how true is that? I mean, it's like if you can conquer your own mind and get a hold of things, then your thoughts won't lead you astray. You won't get caught up in, disbelief or the unreality. So why does he act awkward when he's around you? Well, I think a lot of that has to do with kind of this. There's a lot going on with him. Like he's in his head a lot. That's going to be in the future, like as far as being around you and stuff. but it's more for him. Like, he needs to really let some of that stuff go and just kind of, eight's about material things. So it's a very Capricorn type energy, this 8. Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. That's really what we're getting here, like with this whole spread. So it wouldn't surprise me if the guy's maybe a Capricorn or something, or maybe like a Virgo or a Taurus or something along those lines. But yeah, so he kind of was. In the past, he was working hard for the relationship to kind of get it to go. Sometimes when we do that, we kind of, it's about testing boundaries, testing things, and trying to see what we can do. Okay, yeah, he begs to see you, but acts nonchalant around you. Always acts awkward when he's around you. Want to know why, as far as that goes? Well, this cups right here is like he's got this disappointment with love. It's not, like I said, it's not directed toward you. It's just this concept or idea of love. Like his ideas of what love is are just maybe not, it's almost like he's got like what he wants, being with you, but his fulfillment level isn't there, like not to the degree that he wants it to be or that he maybe sees it. What he needs to do, though, like if I was going to give him advice and all, I'd say, Elle, you need to seize the day. You need to, forget about the past, things that have plagued you in the past, and quit doing the same things that you've been doing over and over again as far as patterns go. And then, see the relationship differently as something brand new and unique. If he did that, then that would be a different set of circumstances. But in the future where we see, things going for him as far as like, what he thinks about you and everything. It's just he's all up in his head about things. He doesn't realize that he can move in any direction. He can be free to get back in control and to feel in control. But I don't know, it's a sense of like feeling out of control on some level. This is a very interesting read. I don't think I've ever, at least not that I can remember, had a 3-card reading where it was 8s across the board. That's very very interesting. It's very, very interesting. So okay, so he actually stole from you, so that makes sense on some level. Yeah, unfortunately, I think, yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm just not really picking up like just part of him is trying to get to a different place, mentally. Like it's like he's gotten what he wanted and everything, like with your relationship and everything, but he's just not really fulfilled, and maybe a lot of that that could very well have to do with just his actions with you, like stealing and everything. That's not good, maybe he carries some kind of guilt or something about that, but it just doesn't really give him the satisfaction or really the, make him feel really good, but it's with him. It's not with you. That's what I'm trying to put forward here. And in the future and stuff, a lot of it's the same. He needs to learn to kind of just negate that negativity that's going on in his mind to realize that he's free. He's not bound. Maybe he feels like he's bound by karma. I'm picking up kind of, or maybe that he just feels like he's undeserving of relationships. Something's going on there. Like in the recesses, it's something from his past. In the past, he was doing certain things and that repetitive thing to get repetitive results. The only problem with doing that is sometimes if we're doing things in maybe not the best way, and we continue to get those type of negative results, we may just keep repeating that same pattern over and over again. And, we've got to, at some point, learn to get past that pattern of behavior so that we can, move on and, be able to look at things differently, to experience relationships differently. In the current moment, it's like just kind of this disappointment with love, and he's just not feeling fulfilled to the level that he thought he would. And a lot of that has to do with this kind of thing. Yeah. Well, what he's hiding, I think, more than anything is just there's something like, it's like an energy that is almost like, let me just see if I can articulate this a little bit for you. I pick up that he is, like in his mind, he's got these thoughts or these ideas about the way that he should approach things. And it's just not really the best way to, it's not founded or grounded in any kind of logic. It's sort of like, it's kind of like, I'll give you an example of kind of what this energy looks like. It sort of would be like if you really wanted to, like a young person may be interested in progressing financially, making a name for themselves, making money, retiring early, and they have all these grandiose kind of ideas, of course, with inflation and, with certain economic conditions and that, and maybe, not being able to get a good job or something for whatever reasons, as luck would have it. It's almost like, they keep on trying to repeat this idea of, they keep telling themselves, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to be able to make this happen. I'm going to be able to do this. I have this faith. I have this ability to do this. And they're telling them this stuff, but all along, they're not really feeling it because they keep getting the same result repeated over and over again. And a lot of this boils over not just into terms of career and things, but into relationships as well. How often do we see it where people, they're just not really great on the relationship front, because it always feels like there's a part of inside of them. They always feel like there's something else. There's something more to life than just relationships. There's something more to life than just work. And so there's that discontentment that's just, it's there, but they just can't really articulate it mentally. And in the future, we see that kind of being the case. It gets really kind of into his head, and he starts to feel more trapped. And but it's not trapped by the circumstances, not trapped by the relationship. It's really trapped by his own thinking, his own thoughts. It'll be a sense of depression almost, but solutions, he won't really see them. I mean, they'll be very obvious for most people, but he just won't really be able to see them. And so when you can't see the solution or the thing going on, it's really hard to kind of like let go of that. So yeah, I do feel like he's hiding something from me, Miss Dior says. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust people that have this kind of, they're not going to openly tell you this kind of thing. These are the kind of thoughts and things that they're going to internalize and hide from everyone else. In his mind, like in the past, it was sort of about, trying to save up money, trying to get ahead, trying to build something, trying to figure things out on that end. Then it was about relationships and trying to figure out how to get the relationships to work and everything. That didn't pan out so well. And so now it's sort of about like, well, what's the next step? And that's where we see his immediate future kind of, developing into. It could be a couple of months out that he really starts to shift from the, just kind of letting this thing go. Okay, so Miss Dior wants to know, was he jealous of her? Yeah, we can check and see. Do a little reading for that one. Not really picking up a lot of jealous energy. I'm picking up a lot of energy that is just kind of is inside of him, like these are, it's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever had a relationship with someone, or you've known somebody, or you try to carry, even maybe somebody you didn't know all that well, but you try to carry on a conversation with that person, and it just seems like they're just not really there. That they're just not really focused, that they've got something else going on inside that head of theirs. And no matter when you're talking with that person and you're trying to connect with that person, it just for whatever reason, it always just feels like there's some kind of, disconnectedness there, So let's look and see if he was jealous of the money in that. Well, like from the past card that we saw, that was sort of him trying to figure out money and try to, try to kind of repeat things. Honestly, it's almost, that card could be almost, from just kind of what we know so far, it could be something like even like con man type thing, where you're repeating your con over and over again. Maybe it's not the first time that he's done this, with other people and stuff where, he maybe targets someone that has money or somebody that's in a better financial situation than himself or something. I don't know. But that would lead a person to be very discontent, I can imagine. It doesn't matter how easy you can sleep on your pillow doing those type of activities. I mean, I guess people do get conditioned to be able to function and to just, kind of allow themselves to just, take advantage of people and not really care one way or the other. The only problem, though, with that is that eventually it does kind of catch up with us, Maybe that's what's going to happen. I mean, maybe that's kind of where we're at with it. I could maybe see something like that. And in that case, it's not really that, he's focusing away from relationship in the, in this current moment. So where he's going, so it's like, it's not even, like I said, it's not about you at all. It's really a lot of this conflict and stuff is going on within him. Let's look at the situation, though, and just kind of find out, like, if he was jealous of you or jealous of the money or, find out what jealousy had, as far as jealousy, what role it played in the whole thing. We'll do another past, present, and future for this as well. So the past is the Seven of Swords, meaning kind of going it alone. This is him, like if we consider this sort of in the context of the previous reading we just did, that was him kind of doing his own thing on the financial material realm, trying to build a thing for himself. This is really kind of going it alone. He has a different way of doing things that a lot of people don't. Swords are still about mental, so he's kind of in his head, devising plans, strategizing. This is also, though, this card is a card of deception, and that's something that we've kind of, talked about here with this reading. You said that, he'd stolen from you, and it kind of thought that he was maybe hiding things. Well, this is a card that would come up, and in the past, like with you guys, this is what we're talking about right here, is everything that you just pretty much spelled out is, it's all about this deception card right here. Look at this. He's kind of leaving, just kind of leaving a couple of things behind, but at the same time taking the majority of things with him. A lot of people call this like the thief in the night. Like you get what you can and then get out, and hightail it out before you get caught. But the problem with this card is that, you can't hide things too well to the point where things always go right. Eventually, things become things that you thought were safe, secrets that you thought were undiscovered. Those things do come to the forefront eventually. They do become illuminated. So something always kind of goes awry. Secrets get revealed, that kind of thing. And so that's what we're seeing. And so that's where the past is. Let's look at the present, though, like with this. Okay, right now he's by himself. He's in this phase of the hermit. So it's all about him. So a little bit of jealousy could be there, but this is about retreating. So he's gotten what he wanted. He's kind of retreating. Now he's kind of thinking about his actions, contemplating things, maybe contemplating his next move. Maybe what's next on his life path. Maybe even some regrets or things that he would have done differently. He might be thinking in that direction. Don't know 100% for sure on this, but the next card is the future card. So the future card is the Page of Cups. We see relationship. We see the message of relationships. This is about emotional and spiritual potential when this card comes up. And okay, So I can kind of give you some insight now. I'm just picking up a whole bunch of things just kind of hit me all at once here. So what I'm picking up, though, with him with regard to the jealousy thing, and money and all that kind of thing, here's the unfortunate thing about taking advantage of people and caring less about them and more about the things that they have. This thief in the night card, this getting what you want and then getting out. There's a side effect that can sometimes happen, and we see it really happening with L. For example, right now he's by himself. He's kind of doing his thing. But at the same time, this is a time of introspection. He's got time to think about things. We saw it in the previous reading, like the future card is kind of like he's in this state of, contemplation. He's in his head. He got those 8 of Swords. And so it's like mind stuff. And he's just, and swords also are about conflicts. He's having inner conflicts within himself about his actions, about the things that he's done, taking advantage of people, particularly you, using people, not being completely honest with them. And that's this present moment, like what's kind of the lead up to this that we'll see. What's interesting, though, is that when all is said and done, this is a lesson that is a great lesson for him. And the lesson that he learns is that the stuff that he took, if we call this guy a cheater, or we call this guy just someone that takes advantage of others, kind of like a con man or something like that. The problem is that sometimes when you do something, dishonest or something like that, the kind of the payback or the karma is that you lose out on the thing that you really would have gained the most benefit from all along. That's the relationship with you. So what I'm trying to say here is that he's going to be very shortly, in a place that he's going to start to think about things, think about his actions, think about what he's done. And when he does, excuse me, sorry guys, really early for me. When he does, what's going to, essentially take place is he's going to start thinking about the relationship. And he's going to be thinking about the potential that was there. And it's going to cause him to get a little bit emotional. That's what the cup is. It's about emotions, feelings, and intuition. This Page of Cups is intuitive messages, spiritual potential, as it relates to relationships. And in particular, this one here with you, Miss Dior. And it's going to make him feel something, And I can't even imagine being in such a situation. I mean, I can imagine it. I mean, I can feel that energy coming in from him, like in the future. And it's just a really like, man, it's like just not a really good place that you would want to be. I mean, just you think about it, like, can you imagine taking advantage of someone and, doing them some harm, cheating them some way, and then later on, after you've retreated and you've kind of walked away from the situation, kind of regretting that you did it, because now you really realize how much you cared about that person after all, and that you really kind of regret cheating them or doing this. We had a situation, one of the monks had built a relationship, a friendship with a guy, and the monk's name is Rade. He's a really good friend of mine. And the person but he needed a roommate situation and all. So he was kind of in between things in his life and that kind of thing. But so he made friends with someone and they gave him a really great deal to be a roommate with them. This person already had quite a bit. Hey, Official J. Williams, Beauty and the Bull. It's good to have you back. Yep. I don't know how long I'll be back here. I'm probably going to be ending this live stream pretty shortly. It's about 2:00 in the morning, and I've got some I'm in charge of cooking duty right now and stuff, so we get up pretty early to do the cooking and that, and so got quite a bit to cook today. We got some different lentils and things. This is some tur dal, split pigeon peas. Cooking up some sambar and some really good Indian food, and just doing a lot of really positive things. So I got to get some things going here in a little bit. I've got to get like pressure pots ready to go to get some of these hard lentils cooked and some other things, and then later on I can get that stuff put together. But anyways, but back to the reading and stuff for Miss Dior. I'm sorry I kind of got a little off track here. Basically, it's just I was just trying to spell out sort of the energy of the situation, and all. Like, it seems almost like he'll have some regret. Now, will he be able to face up to that, and will he be able to just, make amends? I don't know. I mean, probably not, but it will definitely make him feel something, maybe some kind of regret. But what I was saying before is, before I kind of got sidetracked here, my friend Rade, he's another monk. He was in between places, and he needed a place to live, and so he was going to India. He was going to eventually end up in India, and but India was going to be like in February of the next year, and it was like, I want to say like October of the previous year. It's been a couple of years ago. I can't remember exactly what year it was. So, this one friend, he said, "Oh yeah, you could come and stay with me and all." And as monks, we normally just we don't really engage so much in like other people's that kind of thing. We let people kind of do their thing, and we don't want to invade their personal space and that kind of thing. But in this particular case, it seemed like an okay idea. And so Rade, he goes, and Rade's got a really good heart. Never take advantage of anyone. Roll up his mat in the morning, tuck it out of the way. You don't even know he's there. Super cook. Always going out of his way to help and bring as much value to the living situation as possible. I really love the guy. But anyways, this person, we thought they were a friend, more or less, but this person, they pretty much ended up, there was some kind of a ticket or something to go to India. I want to say it was under $2,000, but kind of close to that. And it was in his bag. And then this guy that he was living with gets in the bag, takes the money, steals it, and then basically kicks him out of living with him. And then he goes to get the money, and he realizes it's not there. And of course, the only person that could have taken it would have been him, the guy, because the bag was there, and that was where the money was, and then it just wasn't. And, monks, we really just don't have much, in terms of material possessions. So just a small little bag, you have a little bowl to eat out of, and I mean, there's just a zippered compartment and stuff, and in there was where the money was. And we're taught to be very responsible with these kind of things. So it was pretty obvious that the guy had probably taken it. Can I say for sure 100%? No, I wasn't there. I don't know what he did. But eventually he fessed up to it, and he owned it when some of the other monks had come and confronted him about it and everything like that. And he said, okay, you know what, I did take it. I'm sorry. I'll pay it back and this, that. And then he didn't pay it back, and it just kind of escalated, and it became very kind of uncomfortable, seeing this individual from time to time, knowing, what he had done and everything like that, and, it's just kind of like, but the thing is like, I had a talk with him, maybe 6 months ago. He needed something, and, we're always taught to serve and everything like that, and let the past be the past. I mean, what is the past is the past, But anyway, where I'm getting at is like, he was confessing to me, he's like, he really loved Rade. He said, he's the best roommate ever. He always paid his bills. He always took care of everything so nicely. Missed his cooking, missed his love, missed his friendship and everything like that. And he said, he really was my best friend. He said, and then I cheated him, and I just, I felt so horrible about it, but what could I do at that point? And so yeah, I mean, it was, so he had lost he had lost such a good friend that he would have gladly given back, the $2,000 or however much money it was, if it could have been reconciled, and he really wanted to reconcile. But by that time, February had come. Radhe was out of the monastery and over to another monastery in India. And so, it's just funny how things happen, like in that, in that kind of light. But I'm just telling you that story because that's sort of like what we have with Elle here. It's sort of like, maybe there's that thought, what he really lost was more valuable than what he gained, and what he gained was through some deceptive means anyway. It's the stealing and the just kind of the manipulating and that kind of thing. And these are old patterns from the past that he was just repeating, which is unfortunate. He hadn't learned from his mistakes from the past. We see that with the 888 repeat itself, and then we have this spread here, and it just kind of, reveals more of the same. So right now he's kind of left on his own. He's going to be really kind of having some contemplation, but right now he's taking a little bit of time for himself, but he'll get to a place where his mind starts to, he'll feel like he's in his own prison, his own mental prison, that is. And it'll come to the forefront. He'll come to the realization like, wow, I really did care about her, and I really messed that situation up. And why did I do it? And he may not come to really find an answer. So anyways, Miss Dior, I hope that kind of helps, shed light on things. As far as jealousy goes, it's not really jealousy. It was more just kind of like, just the past repeating itself, it's like it's like a person that steals, they might steal, but maybe one day get caught, right? And then once they get caught, they may say, I'm never stealing again. And then, but those old patterns sometimes repeat themselves. So they might get an opportunity, maybe it's a too good to be true kind of situation. And so they have the opportunity to steal something. And so they do. And when they do, and they get away with it, they're like, that was okay. I won't do it again, but I did it. Fine. No harm done. Well, yeah, harm done. And then maybe they get another situation a few weeks later, and then they do the same thing. Maybe they pilfer something or steal something, and then the next, a little time moves on, and then they do the same thing. And then eventually they get caught again, and it's like, But we see these kind of things happen again and again, repeat patterns, You're welcome, Miss Dior, no problem. And that's the unfortunate thing, like history repeating itself, these old patterns repeating themselves. And unfortunately for Elle, he didn't really learn his lessons from the past, I'm talking about before you. And so now he's in this situation where he's just kind of retreating at the moment. But then, you wait and see. Like, these thoughts of his are going to start to get the better of him and stuff. He's going to really start doing some contemplation. And then he's going to realize that, the only person that he's really cheating, obviously he's cheating you out of the money and stuff, but the only person that he's really cheating is himself, because what he gained was really more of a loss than a win. And see, that's the thing that some people don't really see. They look for a quick, they look for a quick solution, a quick win. But in that quick win moment, they give up the potential of something so much, far better and far greater. And that would have been a really great relationship, or, something that would have just been very long lasting and very, good for his situation and everything on that end. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate on that, guys. So, you can't really, he really can't control himself, because that's where, those patterns come up again and again. It's sort of like, it's really unfortunate. When I counsel people sometimes, do like spiritual counseling, I see this sometimes come up in people, and it's sort of like, it's not that you're talking to a brick wall, they have the best intentions in the moment, but, it's sort of their nature, it's like someone with a personality disorder. Like, I don't even know if it still is one or not, but like histrionics, like people who have like histrionics personality disorder, if you start talking to them, it always goes back to childhood. And usually it has something to do with like childhood trauma or something like that happened from childhood that has created this personality disorder, this histrionics. And essentially what, so everything kind of goes back and relates back to childhood. And if you talk to them long enough in a conversational, they'll start to bring back up the past. And it's always going back to the past, always going back to the past. And it's like this unresolved conflict that just, mentally they can't help it. They can't control it. And you really can't do much with a personality disorder, according to, psychologists. And as a disclaimer, I'm not one. I just have quite a bit of insight into it. Done a lot of independent research and study with that, but it's just a topic that fascinates me. But yeah, I mean, it really is unfortunate for the guy, because it's like he's his own worst enemy, I mean, he might get a temporary win or a temporary gain. It's like the crook that goes and steals. I knew of a situation one time someone had told me about, and there was a guy, and I want to say this was like back in the 1990s. They were telling me this, and he went to a gas station, a convenience store or something, and he robbed that convenience store with another person. And, they had rented a car. They took every precaution. They did everything and stuff. And they knew when the best time would be and everything. And so they go and they do that. They get the money and stuff, and then they retreat, And then, they had enough money to pay all their bills and then some from that one heist. But what did they do? Before the month is even over, they decided, they got a little greedy. And they said, well, that was so easy. We can do this again, And so they got together and did it again. And I think they robbed a motel or some kind of liquor store or something like that. I think it was a motel though. And it was in a town, another town over or something from where they were. And so they kept doing this, like little heists, and getting some money and this and that. And then they would live kind of like beyond their means for a short period of time. They'd buy things and this, that, and the other. What eventually got the person caught was while they were at the convenience store robbing it, there was some of these cheap watches, like, I don't know, knockoff watches or something. And one of them had like a silver dollar or something like within the band. And it was a very unique watch. And they just liked that watch. So while they were stealing the money, they stole the watch. And they figured that they could use the watch to kind of time out their heists and everything. So each of them had one of those watches. So when they went to the hotel, the person that they robbed noticed they both had the same watch on. And then at the other place, the same thing too. So eventually it all came out in the open. And so when they got caught, they just happened to be wearing the watches. So it's sort of like, guilty. And they didn't even know that was that one little thing, like a tick, was going to, get them caught and stuff. But, I think after they got caught, and they did a little bit of time in jail or something, I don't know what all they got as far as their charges. They got out, and I think they ended up eventually going back to jail for something else. I think it might have been robbery or something else, I was later told. I don't know. I mean, and I don't try to get too involved in those kind of things, but it's about these behavioral patterns that just keep repeating themselves. I don't have a judgment, for people that do this kind of thing. It's just, like you say, you can't really control that aspect of yourself. You can, but you got to really want to, and you got to really be able to see what's going on with you and see that, okay, wait a minute, this is kind of a pattern. This is not for my better good, and this isn't really helping anyone. It's just hurting people. It's scaring people. It's stealing from people. And I could take this energy and whatnot that I'm using for this seemingly quote unquote negative purpose, and I could revamp that and use it for something really positive and good to help people. And then I'd probably see a lot more reward that way, but people have their different perspectives. So, but we all get there and stuff, and we all kind of, move in those directions. But guys, it is just now 2:15 in the morning. I better get this cooking underway and stuff like that, and get these other monks up and stuff. I hear a couple of people kind of doing their thing back in the back here. So I better get going with it and stuff before this little live stream is interrupted or anything anyway. So, but love you guys. Thanks for tuning in to Indirect Knowledge, and, many blessings, and thanks for tuning in. I will see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge. Take care and have a great night. Good morning.